Hear Me See Me podcast is sponsored by Zenoti, the #1 cloud software for salons and spas. Because when people feel good, they find their greatness. I am Stuart Roberts, and I'm really excited to introduce my new podcast, Hear Me See Me. It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. I had this idea after being inspired by a guy in America I'd seen cutting hair on the streets and seeing the difference it made to the guys who were there. This is more than a job. This is a calling. Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast. Today I've got a wonderful lady who I've only just met, and it's the same old thing. I feel like I've known her for years. Today I'm talking to Helen Fitzgerald-Wade. How are you, Helen?
I'm good, Stuart. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We got there in the end, didn't we? We had a couple of technical difficulties, but here we are. We're ready to go.
Like I said to you, I'm a people's person. I'm not a tech. It's not my forte.
Well, that's what really drew you to helping us at Haircuts4Homeless, and you know, you've got to be a people person to even want to even do it. So
absolutely. But
we're gonna sort of go towards that later about what brought you into it. But I'd like to go right back to, you know, you as the young wee Helen. What you know, like what got you into hairdressing, and like where did you grow up, and that, you know, take me back to that.
So I'm the ripe old age now of 51. So I was born in Thurles, County Tipperary in 1971, and we moved to my parents lived in Shannon, which you probably have heard of.
Yeah.
But my mum went back to Thurles, Tipperary, for me to be born in the same county that she was born in. They're very proud Tip people, so they wanted their children to be born there. So we lived in Shannon, and then we moved to Galway, which is where I spent most of my life. But my first recollection of wanting to be a hairdresser was I used to sit in the chair in the salon and watch the hairdressers give me a special fringe. And I don't know any other words for it except special. It was about that short. And I used to sit there looking in the mirror going, yeah, when I become a hairdresser, I'm not giving anybody a special fringe. Nobody. And so that's that's actually the first thought. And I was probably 5, 6, all the way up to 13, where my mum used to say, make sure her fringe is nice and short. And I used to think, no, don't do that to me, please. So
so she got a money's worth? Was that so she got like, didn't have to take you back so soon?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she said, she's got beautiful eyes. Everybody needs to see them. Like, they can see the eyes. They don't need to see the entire head. And it was just special. It's special. So when I have parents ask me now, could I make sure the fringe is cut really short? I'm like, no. That causes hair trauma, and I'm not doing it. So that's where I suppose my first thought of being hairdresser came from. And then I got a job in a salon that used to cut my hair special at about 12, and I worked for nothing.
Yeah.
Because I was desperate to be a hairdresser, but I was too young to be paid. Even back then, that would have been seen as child labour. And they were just happy.
Working for free isn't child labour.
It's just working for free.
Yeah.
So I work on a Saturday, wash hair and fold towels, and I was happy to be in a salon. I didn't care what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then at 15 or 16, I'd had enough of school, really. I I couldn't abide school. It just wasn't for me. And I went to a convent school, which was interesting.
Yeah.
My sister, I have an older sister, she went to the same convent school. And when we talk about our school days, her experience was way different than mine, because she was academic and I absolutely was not. I spent most of my day trying to talk to everyone and anyone who'd listen to me. And of course, teachers don't like that. So we had very different experience at school. So I couldn't wait to leave and start hairdressing. So I luckily, at the age of, I think it was 15, I left. I got an apprenticeship with the lady who'd opened a salon in Galway, who'd worked for Vidal Sassoon.
Wow.
She trained with them and had lived in England for quite a long time, and then had come back to Galway.
Right.
So that was quite an amazing start, I think, in my career. She was a very precision hairdresser.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the hair, like to one. It was quite incredible to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my training.
Right.
And I can't remember, I left or she left, but I moved on then to another salon, and I had finished my my training, and then I was a qualified stylist.
Yeah.
I did that till I was 19, and then the world was calling me. Ireland wasn't enough.
Right.
And as beautiful and everything as Ireland is, I just felt like the world needed to be explored, really.
Yeah.
My parents were really great at encouraging anything that any of us ever wanted to do. So they backed me 100%. And I came to England and did a job interview for Harrods and a job interview for the cruise ships with Steiner.
Right, yeah, Steiner.
Yeah, Steiner, yeah. And I had a tough decision to make, because I got both jobs.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really difficult. I was 19. I'd never travelled on my own before. I was living in London. It was quite a wild time.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity for two absolutely amazing jobs. And I remember ringing home from a phone box and saying, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And my mum said to me, well, you can always work on land. How many chances are you ever going to get to work at sea? So
yeah.
I didn't need much encouragement, really. I think I knew I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So then I spent the next few years working on the cruise ships and traveling the world.
Yeah. What was that like?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Hard work.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard it's really, you earn your money, don't you? I've heard.
Absolutely. And actually, we didn't get paid a lot. I think my pay was £45 a week.
Yeah.
It was very little. You got commission and stuff, but it was really for the amount of hours we worked. 12-hour days.
Yeah.
6 days a week. But on the other side of that was you didn't have to pay for your accommodation. You ate the same food as the passengers. You got to travel the world. So, you know, there's another side to that.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And I met hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah.
Hairdressers, beauty therapists, the staff, the crew, and then the passengers. It was just, an incredible travel experience.
The right choice for a people person, because you've already said you're a people person.
For sure.
So, but do you wonder, like, because that's a crossroads moment, isn't it? Do you wonder, like, your whole life would have been so different if you'd have picked the other job, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been so different.
Yeah. Funny, because those moments, they're so important, aren't they? You know, and you was meant to take the one. I think you're always meant to take that one. But, you know, the significance of the other choice would have been...
Yeah. And it is that thing of go with your gut.
Yeah.
I knew in my heart, even before I was ringing my mum saying, what will I do? I already knew. I suppose I needed someone to say, you're not making the wrong choice, you know.
Yeah.
But in those moments, I think your gut will tell you what you need and where you should go, for sure.
So what brought you back to land then after those years?
So I did 10 ships in total, and I did various contracts, and I worked my way up to manager. And then I met my husband.
Yeah, I thought that would be it.
Yeah. Not always. And he works in the casinos.
Right.
Yeah.
What did he do?
So he started off as a croupier and then supervisor, and they've got so many different levels in casinos because they're all watching each other all of the time.
Yeah, I know. Paranoid, just like
paranoid. Yeah. So it became more difficult for us to be together on the ships. They don't particularly favor couples because then they realize that you want to be on the same ship and they don't necessarily always want you on a particular ship. They might need you somewhere else. So we could see it was going to start. We had 2 contracts together and we could see it was starting to be a struggle. So we came back to Bristol.
Right.
My husband Richard is from. He's a Bristolian.
Yeah.
And at the time, there's no casinos in Ireland, so it wasn't an option to go back to Ireland.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of hairdressers here, so obviously I knew I could get work anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And at that time too, we had a family loss. My dad passed away tragically in an accident, and that kind of shaped, I suppose, life from there. I was 22, so I was still quite young.
Oh, right,
Yeah. 22, 23, yeah.
Right. Cool, you've done a lot, haven't you? Because it all sounds, I've done this and then a few years and that, and then you get, when I was 22, it's quite a lot crammed in, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. Yeah, and I suppose at the time, when you're young, you go for it.
Yeah, you got that energy, yeah.
Yeah, you do. You don't have that, you don't question things too much. You just think, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And the confidence, I think that's the other thing too, is when you're young, you have that confidence.
Yeah.
That as you get older, slowly, I think you lose it. And I think for everybody, whether you're a hairdresser or anybody else, the confidence just, starts to take a little backward step.
Yeah.
Because life gets in the way and various things happen that maybe knock you down a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, so you stayed in Bristol. I mean, your dad unfortunately passed away, but you stayed in Bristol.
I worked in Bath for a little while.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was nice. A really nice city to work in. Met lots of interesting people there. Lots of lords and ladies because it's a nice place. And then I moved to a salon in Bristol called Alan Paul. It used to be a massive chain back in the day.
Yeah, I remember the name, Alan Paul.
Yeah. Actually, the original name was called Shaggers.
Shaggers?
Yeah.
Sounds like an Essex salon.
I think they had a lot of salons up north. So, yeah. Lots of people call. They know Shaggers.
Shaggers.
And I worked there for years, and then I had my son and my daughter.
Yeah.
Owen is nearly 20 and Abby is nearly 17.
Right.
So that's taken up, along with work, that's taken up obviously quite a huge part of my life.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And where do you work today?
So now I'm self-employed, mobile. Right. I found, again, when we had the crash in 2008, I think it was.
Yeah.
The salon that I worked for then had to let all its part-time staff go 3 weeks before Christmas.
Oof.
That was quite a shock.
Yeah.
But because I'd already worked quite a lot in Bristol, I had a lot of clients.
Yeah.
So you can imagine 3 weeks before Christmas, I was fully booked. I worked, but I was fully booked. And I was like, what? I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just rang all my clients and said, look, this is the situation. I left work today.
Yeah.
They said, kind of, you've got gardening leave from now.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll come to your house and do your hair. And then after Christmas, maybe I'll find another salon.
Yeah.
But as I started to do the mobile thing, actually everybody loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't have to go into the centre of Bristol anymore and face the traffic. We don't have to pay for parking.
Yeah.
Everybody just loved it. So then as I was doing everybody's hair, I said, how would you feel if I just came to your house and did your hair all of the time? Like, how would that be? And not one single person said no.
No. Everybody
said yes.
Yeah.
So that was 12 years ago, 10 years ago.
Right.
Longer, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't looked back.
No.
Really.
I think it's the convenience, the freedom of the hours. I mean, I know that because we'll get onto this now probably, that Haircuts for Homeless, and there's a big bulk of our volunteers. I mean, we've got like 600 volunteers. A big bulk of them are freelance. I think that a lot of it is that they've got that flexibility to work volunteering around their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, again, like for the other volunteers, not being tied down to a place and having to ask for time off to do anything.
Yeah.
For me, raising children has been quite an incredible thing, really.
Yeah.
Being able to work
perfectly, with bringing children up.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you cope in the lockdown? Because all of a sudden we couldn't work, could we?
Yeah, that was that was tough, and I think it's tough for everybody.
Yeah.
For people who are self-employed, absolutely, and obviously people who don't go out to work, people who come home could still do their jobs. We couldn't. That was the first time I faced the fear of how were we going to pay our mortgage?
Yeah.
How were we going to pay our bills?
Yeah.
I'd never really, because I've always worked since I was for nothing. I've always worked. And that was the first time, even for about a week, that I was really unsure of life. Yeah.
I think, like the first stage of it, we done loads of work with just reassuring, not even reassuring. We couldn't reassure our volunteers, but just sort of being and listening to them. We had loads and loads of phone calls. Me and my sister, who you've met, just
lovely Belinda.
Yeah, lovely Belinda.
Lovely Belinda.
And we was just sort of, like, we didn't know what to say, because, and I know that quite a few instances of women who had, not women, people who had got like a home salon, and they'd invested, so they'd, because people think, oh, it's a home salon, just stuck in the garden. Some people make quite an investment of it, and they borrow money to do it. So, they have a room built which can cost tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
So it's a fully functioning, salon room in the garden. So there's a debt with that, as an outgoing. But then because of the situations, they never. They couldn't apply for any of the grants or anything because there wasn't a salon.
Yeah.
And I know one of my actual team leaders who in the end had to just walk away from the career because she'd worked so little over the 18 months previous.
Yeah.
But volunteering with us led her to go into helping people, and she now works in the same sort of capacity. She's got a job, and she gets the fulfillment out of that.
Wow. That's amazing.
Changed careers, and lovely lady. So it was tough, wasn't it? Like, yeah,
no, it was, and for anyone I think that went out to work, and the same for my husband. He's changed careers now. He's not in a casino. He's in a cinema. So,
all right,
obviously they closed. So it became like we're looking at each other, going, "Well, nobody's working. What happens now?" Families were like that.
I know.
Luckily, slowly, because I've been self-employed for so long, I have a tax history. So, we got furlough, and so things were easier then. It wasn't so stressful.
Yeah.
At least that way, it wasn't so stressful.
It took it out. I think physically for me, or mentally for me, the fact I didn't realise that, I've said this many times, how much doing this, the charity helps me mentally. So all of a sudden it was stopped, and I kept filling my day as much as possible because I'm a doer like you, I wanted to keep doing. And, but that thing of taking away my therapy, because it's almost like my therapy, got the world going on, and then you have a couple of hours where you constantly think about other people. It takes you out yourself.
Absolutely.
And I struggled for those. I think I struggled more for the second lockdown, the early part of last year.
That was because it was the winter.
That was it. Yeah. That one
cold and miserable, and we couldn't put the heating on because it was too expensive. I remember sitting here, with the hot water bottle, trying to help my daughter homeschool.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Yeah.
But actually, that's where I found you. I'm not the misery.
That's where you started stalking me. Tell me about that then. Tell me that story.
I stalked a friend of yours first.
Right. Who's a friend of mine?
Tom Chapman.
Oh, lovely man. Yeah.
So, I think it was a client who works for the NHS said to me, "Do you know there's this guy called Tom Chapman who's doing courses on mental health for hairdressers and barbers?"
Yeah.
So I immediately started to look at it. I've been very aware of mental health my entire life. My mum was a Samaritan for 25 years.
Wonderful, yeah.
So even in, 40 years ago, I was very aware of mental health, probably before, in my 15, 16, I knew that word. I knew the word depression. I had heard my mum, talk about various things that she'd come across in her volunteering life.
Yeah.
So to say I've had an interest in it is wrong, but I've always been very aware of people's mental well-being and how it comes and how it goes and all the things like that. But I did Tom Chapman's Zoom in one of the lockdowns. Zoom where, and I think our one was the first he had done on Zoom before he done them in person, and this one was on Zoom. And what I found really interesting about Tom and the way he spoke actually was talking about the confidence maybe deteriorating over the years. I've always known hairdressing is a great job, but that thing of, well, you're just a hairdresser. That's kind of, all hairdressers know that. But what Tom did was he put a completely different spin in it that I knew was there, but to have somebody say it so strongly and powerfully, I was just like, wow. That's just wow. And obviously Tom talks about his friend very sadly committing suicide. And it was very profound to hear someone talk the way Tom talked about being a hairdresser and having such an impact. And so I think I started to follow Tom on Instagram, and then Haircuts4Homeless popped up. And that's where my journey started with yourself and actually the whole team. I feel like I know everybody and I know nobody.
There's that. We say that. We do say about it. I say it a lot, and I put on there Haircuts4Homeless family. And it sounds a bit cliched, but we are like a big extended family. And, you know, I've got team leaders who get in touch with other team leaders and from different parts of the country. And it honestly does really feel like a family. And you should do that. You know, when you see other team leaders, you know, honestly, if you inbox them and message them and say, look, I've just started Bristol, you'll be amazed. Because, you know, they all everyone loves it. Everyone does it, you know, which is a wonderful thing.
No, and it feels like part of a family. I feel like part of a tribe. I do. It's a tribe. I feel
what made you hesitate? Because you said to me you thought a long time. What was making you hesitate?
What made me hesitate? Well, obviously lockdown, because we were in
a big one. So. It made us all hesitate for a while there.
I couldn't even do my own job. Don't mind doing anything else. My house, really. So that made me hesitate, and my confidence. For sure. And you know, I've had my own struggles. My mum, before lockdown, passed away, and that knocked me quite a lot hard. Having lost both parents, it takes time to come back from that. I think grief is a really all-consuming thing.
I've got to say, because I'm an open book. We've just been speaking about that before we started recording, and you know, and the fact that, you know, I lost my dad 15 years ago, but like, I'm actually losing my mum at the moment, you know, and that's why we had that big chat. It's a funny thing. It's so draining. To watch someone go before your eyes, and I can imagine, like, if you was, I sort of get that. I really get that, because I know it's draining the life out of me at the moment. I'm having a difficulty functioning almost on a daily basis, but and my sister, bless her, is as well, more so even, I think. So I get that. I get where it takes you a little bit of time to get back from that, to be able to take something on.
Absolutely. And actually be able to give something your all, because unfortunately grief whatever is left at the end of the day, the grief sucks the life out of it. So I think where I was when I messaged you, I was at a place where I felt like I could give something my attention, and something. I'm one of those people. I want to give it all my attention. I didn't want to just give it partly.
Yeah.
And especially something as important as I feel Haircuts for Homeless is.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it what it deserved.
Yeah.
I remember on a walk with my daughter saying, I'm thinking about doing this. And I knew once it was out of my mouth, I would have to keep on that road.
Yeah.
So it had gone around in my head for a long time. And then I said it out loud. And I thought, well, you said it now, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And driving around Bristol over the years that I've been here, and especially being mobile, I drive lots of places. I see everything, and I have seen everything. Or so I thought, actually, until we came out of, I think, the last lockdown. I saw something that literally stopped me in my tracks, and I could barely drive the car afterwards. I cried so much. I saw a young lad there's a road in Bristol called the Gloucester Road, and it runs between a area, let's say, that's not the best, as in, it's not very affluent, to a place that's very affluent. So it's from one extreme to another you go. And this young man was in a wheelchair. He had one leg, and he looked desperate. And desperate is the only word I can use. And he was sucking lighter fluid with a cigarette and a can of cider. But in my life, I've seen lots. I've seen people sniffing glue. I've seen people on spice. I've seen people drunk, because that's what's turned up in front of my car. I've seen it. But to see someone sucking lighter fluid, I just thought in that moment, what's happened to that young man's life? That he is on this road now in this despair. What's happened? Because the most horrific things must have happened.
Yeah.
Something has led him to where he is right now. And people just, and I'm not bad mouthing people, but people were walking past him.
Of course.
And I was stuck in traffic, so I had no choice but to look.
No.
And just think, like, wow.
Yeah.
How sad, how lonely his existence must be. Because if you're sucking lighter fluid, life hasn't been good to you.
No. And it, it's just the practicalities of being, in addiction, possibly homeless,
Yeah. Oh, he was absolutely
probably homeless, yeah. In a wheelchair with, did you say he had one leg or no legs?
Yeah, one. And he was
one leg.
cruising along with the other leg.
Oh, I know, yeah, I've seen, yeah. And, and you think the practicalities of that. I must admit, like, talk about when you get a bit, it's being humbled, isn't it? And
absolutely.
It's quite funny. I was in Leeds. And I've had a few years ago, I had a knee replacement, and I think it was before I'd had it. So I was hobbling about a bit before I had the knee replacement. And I was in a lot of pain, and I'd had a long train journey or whatever. And I was really feeling sorry for myself. And I was in this, we was halfway through this session, and I was getting a bit humpy, because I was in pain. I was tired, and, and this guy coming in a wheelchair with no legs. and a great big smile on his face.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, do you want me to cut it?" And she went, No, leave off. He goes, or in a Leeds accent, he went, "No, leave off." And he just sort of just rocketed out of his chair, and he got himself along, and he got himself up in the chair, and I cut his hair, and I thought, "Stuart, you miserable sod." Like, you know, when you think, like, I've been thinking, I think, "Oh, my poor leg is hurting." This guy just come with no legs and a smile on his face. I thought,
yeah,
I think I've been sent a message.
Yeah.
I've been sent a message. It ain't that bad, you know.
It ain't that bad. No. I think that's the thing. Even on our first session was, that thing of those lovely people coming in and one trusting us. I think that was the thing. But the other thing was beaming. You know, beaming. Yeah. You just think, well, what's wrong with me? I have the world. I have the world, and I have no complaints. Yeah. They have everything to complain about, everything.
Yeah.
But they're leaving here with a smile on their face after a haircut.
Yeah.
You know, that was the great thing about that day, was knowing, after seeing what I saw on the Gloucester Road and thinking, I don't know how to help.
Yeah.
What can I do? I'm one person.
Yeah.
But finding Haircuts for Homeless, I see a way I can help now. It's small. It is small. And I'm very aware of that. I'm not going to change the world. But at least now I feel like I can do something.
And do you know the biggest smile of all that day was yours? Do you know why? I've seen a lot of people, like, people's reactions to it. But you and me and my sister, because we had a long drive, we drove 3 hours there.
Yeah.
3 hours in there, and then I drove 3 hours back. I really slept well that night. But I'm being moaning again. But yeah, we had a long drive back. So we was chatting away, and we was buzzing. We was actually really buzzing because that was a Monday.
Yeah.
On the Friday night, we'd met a new team of people at Haircuts4Homeless in Knightsbridge, which is a weird one anyway, because you go past Harrods and then into a church, and underneath, and there's 100 people who ain't got enough money to eat properly, queuing for food, and a great atmosphere. And we'd had a real buzzy, real great session. And then we went all the way to Bristol, and we had another one. So we was driving back on a high. But we both commented about how grateful you was. Like you said to Belinda separately, you said to me, I can't, it was like the excitement you had, because you said, like, I can't believe it's actually happened. I can't believe we're here doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and it, like, that fuels us.
Yeah.
That fuels us to carry on, especially in difficult times like we're in at the moment. It fuels us to keep moving and you know, like, and it was a wonderful session. I mean, the Turkish lady with the long hair, you know, like, she hung around the whole time, didn't she? She had a wonderful time.
She and when she came in, she was very, she wasn't angry. That's not the word, but I think she was uncomfortable and maybe mistrusting.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to leave. Like, she wanted to stay. And I think everyone, I certainly felt everyone that came in brought an energy into the room.
Yeah.
And they were all different. But actually, when they all left with the same energy, which was happy. And they all waved to all of us. Thanks very much, everyone. Yeah. You know, they would come in quietly and leave loudly.
That's it. Yeah, and that's it.
I loved that. that was like from every session. Now I know they're not all going to be like that.
No.
And maybe they might be, maybe they won't be.
Yeah.
But that was great. And In Hope, the charity themselves, are a great bunch of people who do amazing work.
Yeah, it was really interesting because we have got a lot on at the moment, as I've explained. And then to go off to Bristol and get a new one going was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And Blinda said, I've got this nutty woman, Helen, that keeps messaging me. No, she didn't. But she said, I've got a lady who's really keen to get started. And we done our usual thing. We sort of threw the ball back at you and said, look, well, you live there, you find a place.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And then I interestingly, I watched a documentary on the TV, and it was a documentary maker, film guy, who had been in poor situation before, but met this sort of socialite woman who was super, super rich. And they'd done a bit of a life swap. So she took him to the, Monaco or something like that. And he was just a bit like, he looked like a rabbit in the headlights, to be honest. And he, and he just couldn't believe, and he's talking super rich people. And give her a due, she returned this favour and went back to him, but they went to In Hope in Bristol.
And you know why they went there?
Sorry?
The reason they went there is because he'd used their services.
That's it. Yeah, I remember.
Because he had been homeless in Bristol and had the Wild Goose Cafe, and had used their services. So he went there to see his world. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great program. I really enjoyed it. But straight away my head's going, I thought, I'd really like to go there someday. And within days, Blinda said, Helen's found somewhere. And she went, it's In Hope. And it clicked. I thought, I know that name. Hang on a minute. And I'm Googling. And I went, that's the one I wanted to go to. Bang, we're going. I said, get a date. So I leapfrog everything. Get us a date, we're going to Bristol. And that was it. So it's all about meant to be. I was like, we're going. And it didn't let down. It didn't. Honestly, it's a great place. And we've recently had a very difficult situation. There's a couple of places that we've stopped going to. And we send a video for to send to the centre. We're going to do new ones soon. L'Oreal's going to do some new videos for us that I've got to do. And I can invite you to that, actually, because we're looking for some team leaders to take part in them as well. And I know how much you love the camera. Not. But we want to get it to sort of explain. The new videos are going to be more like to explain what it's really like in a session, and not just to allay people's fears, because if people are worried about joining, we can let them know, people like your experience while it's fresh, of how brilliant it can be. We want to get that across. But also we do send one of the videos we've got out to the centre and say, look, this is what we expect of you. And we've had a couple of recently where they've put our volunteers in danger, to a degree. And I'm all right. I can look after myself. I can guide a session if I'm there, but I need it to be if I'm not there. If my most least confident volunteer needs to feel safe. And Absolutely. So if it gets, and they'll get, we give them, we say, no, that's not acceptable, and if it carries on, we can't go back. And it's a shame, because all I ever feel about is the guests. And I feel about those wonderful guests. And I think these centres, if they're not doing their bit, they're letting their guests down because we're taking away our service. But I've got to do that without any conscience, because my priority is my volunteers, I've got a responsibility. And In Hope, it was so nice because we'd had a bit of that. So we went in and they were perfect, as an example of how to be a partner with Haircuts4Homeless if you're a centre. Yeah. You've got to do your bit. You've got to make sure we had someone with us the whole time. We got it, just a little thing, like there was all tea and coffee. and brownies, which I appreciated. There's, all of that stuff. And they made sure everyone knew about it. They kept them coming.
Yeah.
Everything they done, I was appreciating everything that they did. And hopefully people will hear this. And if you are a centre, there's a camera. If you're a centre and you want us to come to you, you do your bit. We do our bit. You do your bit, and we'll keep coming and coming forever. Absolutely. But you've got to look after us. We have to be, because Sorry. Cool.
When I found In Hope, I did a lot of research.
Yeah.
And I just kept coming back to them every time I looked somewhere else. I just thought, but In Hope. And then I just kept coming back. And when I first reached out to them, just their reaction, that alone was amazing. They were so up for it. Yeah. And then I went to meet Mick, the manager, and Naomi, the lady who stayed with us.
Yeah, lovely lady, yeah.
Naomi. I knew when we walked into that room, I had one of those moments where I was glad I had a mask on, because my face was like, oh, I can see it working here. I know what this can be. We could make it feel like a salon experience.
Yeah.
Which is what a vision I had in my head, is I wanted it to feel like a salon. I wanted the atmosphere to feel like a salon. I want the guests to come in and feel like they've had a haircut, yes, but also an experience.
Yeah.
In Hope really helped that to happen. Yeah. They helped with all of the vision that I had in my head on that day. And you've done hundreds of these, so I only know how I felt, but you've done hundreds. So I suppose you're the best person to say that if that was a good session, then I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and it's like I say, this was a good instance of, if you want to be a team leader, that you want to start a project, be a Helen. You've got to do your research. It's your city. We do get people saying, "Oh, where do you think?" And I go, "Well, look, I live in Essex, and you're in, you're in Newcastle, whatever. You go out and find out, because if you really want to get it started, you will, you'll do that, and you'll find out it. And also, then the places themselves is that, if you treat us right, you've got a free asset. Yes. Now, all of these centres, they thrive themselves on providing a service. Now, if they can include a hairdressing service once a month or once every 6 weeks, that's good for them. They've got that on their list of things that they provide. No cost to them at all. We don't charge a thing. We provide everything, So they really do need to appreciate it. For us to continue. And if they do, we've got great relationships. I've said to people, I could do like the AA, the B&B guide. I could do the homeless centre guide, because, I've been to so many across the whole of the UK, and you've got ones that are very big and corporate charities, which do great work, but I like the grassroots in Hope places that are independent, run by people, and people helping people.
Yes.
And the difference the minute you walk in a lot of the time, and the reception you get as well.
Yes.
We've been in the baking hot place, no one's even offered a bottle of water or anything. Whereas that place, you had all tea and coffee and everything, and it's appreciating what we're bringing to the table, I think.
Absolutely. And with somewhere like In Hope, they have food. Have a food bank. They have a women's refuge. They have life skills courses that they teach people, and I think Haircuts for Homeless, going into them, were just another piece of the puzzle to make their puzzle work. That for me, that's what I saw at In Hope, was we could add value to what they already do really well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We know our place, and I mean that respecting what we are. Yeah, we're a cog. We're a cog of a good machine. And we don't rehome people. We don't do all these things. But what we do is we give people respect, and we give them. And I won't underestimate it. Sometimes we do give them hope. I mean, my guy, I'm a very selfish person, and I go straight. As soon as that guy walked in with a beard, I'm like, he's mine. I'm having him, because I love a big, like,
his beard, Adam. I'll never forget his name.
Yeah,
his beard. When he walked, and I thought he was having his beard cut off. I was like, "You're not having that beard cut off." And he said, "No, I'm like Merlin. I keep all my strength in my beard." I was like, "Okay, that's good. That's good."
But what great energy he had.
Guy.
What a lovely guy. But the thing is, I think you saw straight away, me and him had a real connection.
Yes.
Immediately. And what it is, we both are, and he won't mind me saying, because he was, we're both alcoholics, like, I know them, they know me. And immediately it clicks. And we had a great chat, we had a great hug, and he was such a nice young man.
Yes.
He lifted the room, and it was a pleasure, to get to know him, and I thought about him. I thought about him a lot since we was there.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that he was, some of the things he was wanting to do come off for him. You don't get a chance to meet people like this unless you're doing this.
One thing I would like to say, you say you're selfish, and actually I don't believe that for 1 minute, because I witnessed, as did the other volunteers, which we spoke about after you'd left, we talked about you, was there were two instances, one with Adam, where I don't know, you've some sort of Mary Poppins bag, I don't know where it was, but it clearly was anything that somebody needed, you had in your bag, which I found incredible. I think you gave Adam some hand warmers.
I did, yeah.
Right, okay. And there was a nice guy there, who was a little bit concerned about the fact that he couldn't get any COVID tests.
Yeah.
Again, Mary Poppins went into his bag and pulled out a box of COVID tests and handed it to him. And I was like, I want one of those bags. You're not selfish, Stuart. What you are is very unselfish, and you hear what people need. And those two people needed very little, but I could see how much it meant, more than the haircut. And that's what I mean about more than just a haircut. Do you need my tissues?
Yeah, I've got some. I don't know, yeah, it's just taking notice of me. I'm a bit of a wreck at the moment, but...
That day, I felt like I was a master at work. That's what I can say. A master in his craft.
Yeah.
That's not just about the haircut.
No.
That a master in his craft of caring about people.
Yeah.
And Vicky and I, when you handed the gentleman whose hair she was cutting the COVID test, we looked at each other, and I was just like, wow. That's who Stuart Roberts is. Wow. I wanted to forget about be more like Helen, be more like Stuart Roberts, and I'm getting one of those bags. I don't know where you bought it. I want a bag where somebody says, this is what I would like, or I can't get my hands on this, but I have it. So I am going to get a bag, and I slowly find out what it is that people need. And I'm going to have a Mary Poppins bag to beat your.
I've been called a lot of things, but I've never been called Mary Poppins. But I've got that's a first. But I've got.
We'll go with Merlin. Merlin.
Yeah. Merlin and Mary. That was a great session. But the thing is, what it is just listening. You know, hairdressers are great listeners, and using that skill. And the more often you go around and do it, you just pick up things. And then when you've got it in your mind, then if you do see something where you think, a lot of people are kind enough to give us stuff. And, and that's that little magic van we've got, the little black van that goes around. You know, there's loads of different things in there. And I can often put my hands on things. And if not, we sometimes... it'll be in my mind until it appears, and then I will send it, because that's the thing as well, the support we give our teams is that we can't physically get there as often as we would like, but we are at the end of the phone. We are on the WhatsApp. We love it when people put the pictures of the next session on. Yeah. But also, if we ain't got it, we can often get it and then we can post it to you,
Yeah.
So I've got to put my phone on inactive. Let's get rid of that phone call at the wrong time. But it's just listening, really. I think that's the thing, listening out for what people ask for.
Yeah, and we're great talkers too. That's the other thing about hairdressers. We can listen and talk.
Yeah.
But I think that what I witnessed then was it was so subtle. It was so subtle. And you did it like nobody knew you were doing it. It was so subtle, but I know how much it meant. Yeah. And it was, I felt honoured to watch somebody do what they do best. And it is clearly
thank you. I appreciate that. That's nice to know. So, I know you've not just got the next session booked. You've booked for the rest of the year.
Yeah, up until Christmas, and we've got more volunteers, which is great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited about the future.
Yeah. So am I. Yeah, we keep getting setbacks and stuff, but I know I'm doing this for the rest of my life, and I know it's grown enough now that it's going to outlive me, which is what I want. I want it to outlive me. It's not the Stuart Roberts project. It's not whatever it is. It's Haircuts for Homeless, and it's evolving into something that's going to continue, because I won't be around forever, but. I hope it will, And
I mean, I'm very grateful that in my years of frustration at the world, giving out about different things that I've seen and never having that, I suppose, what do I do? Haircuts for Homeless, I feel, has empowered me that now there is something that I can do.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful for that. Very. To you and Belinda. Love Belinda.
Yeah, love to Belinda.
Lovely.
It's been great. I can't wait to come again. I will be back as soon as circumstance can, permit. We will definitely be there. But as I said, we're there. We're at the end of the phone, and anything you need. But thank you so much for giving me your time on a Sunday morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Soon, Stuart.
Much love. Thank you.
Bye.
It's just over 5 years ago. I did something that changed my life. What it did, more than I could have ever realised, it helped me. I have met some absolutely amazing people. Some of the people that work in some of these places, many of them are volunteers, but some of them, it is their job. This is more than a job. This is a calling.